I remember saying I can always make more money, but I can't get the time back. Close to 20 years, but probably 15 years where I owned the business, I worked 4 to 10 hours a week. Why would I sell? I'm making money in my sleep. My clients are happy. I am traveling the world, building great relationships, right? Why would I leave?
She just sold her company. She sat in a room full of men negotiating the biggest deal of her lifetime. Wait, she sold for how much? I can't even believe she managed to get double her valuation. Let's keep this just between us.
Michele, welcome to the show.
Hi, Carrie. It's been a long time in the making, and I'm so excited that we finally got to have the chance to sit down and chat.
I am so happy you're here. I remember that I fell in love with your story for the first time on John Warrillow's podcast. And I remember thinking, like, she's awesome. I think I maybe even listened to it before I sold. And really, I remember just finding your story so exciting and inspiring. And that's why I'm just so excited to bring it to our listeners today.
That's so kind of you to say. And what's funny is I was on John's podcast right after I sold my business. And I had never been on a podcast before. I mean, I've done hundreds now, but I had no idea what I was doing. So those are kind words and I appreciate it.
Well, it might have been that too. It was just like, it was a very authentic, if it was your first, then I highly recommend that people go listen to it because it was really like, also you were in the moment. And so I'm so excited from what I know about that time to where you are now and to talk about and explore all of that growth. One of the things that I loved about your business, and I remember this distinctly, is that when I hear that the entrepreneur works these 50-hour work weeks or works, really, really hard, nonstop, I didn't get that impression from you. What I got from you was that you were able to build a business with work-life balance. So I would love for you to tell my listeners sort of the start and how you started to grow while maintaining your headspace and your time. I mean, to me, that's the most incredible part for me. That's what I want our listeners to know.
Well, thank you. That is actually now my superpower and what I'm doing now. So it wasn't always that easy. The first couple of years, of course, you got to give, you got to push, you're onboarding, you're creating your new business. And that comes with 20-hour days sometimes, right? When you're really pushing.
Yeah.
There is a point, though, where it's important to let go of that. And for me, I had a global business. I had my clients were in different time zones. I had 2 kids under 3. I was in my early 20s. Actually, I was 12, just in case, I don't want the listeners to do the math here. But no, firstly, I was in my mid 20s and I had started this translation company with a fax machine in Canada. All my clients were in Germany. It was an 8-hour time difference. And I called it my purple cow because at that time, nobody was doing that.
Right.
Pre-internet, right? 1993, 94. I was working 20-hour days and I was a slave to my business because the clients thought it was great. So they would fax me stuff when they left for the day. And when they came back in the morning, it would be there, which was amazing, except it left me completely at the mercy of which client was going to send what, how many pages today. I never knew. So I would walk into my office and so often find this, 40, 50 feet roll of thermal paper fax rolled up because I couldn't afford the expensive one with the cutter in it. I know a lot of your audience is like, what is she talking about? But
no,
like I said, that was
I think
12.
I get it.
It's a different time.
It's different time. So different time, same thing. Like it would be like, I couldn't afford this internet tool, but like, yes, the paper was cut, so you would tear it, perforated.
Right. So I had to, my first 10 minutes of my day, or depending, sometimes longer, I was with the scissors cutting. And so I was completely at the mercy of my business, but I didn't want to turn anyone away because one, I was the only one doing this that I knew of. And the influx of clients proved that. And I'm like, I can't say no, I have to scale. And there came a point where I realized I was getting fired from my own life. Like my hairdresser fired me because I couldn't make the appointments because I didn't know from one day to the next. My doctor said, hey, we have a wait list for new clients. You can't not showing up and show up. And I lost a lot of my friends in a new country where I didn't have a lot of people. And more importantly, when I realized that, I'm like, if I keep going like this, my two babies, my baby girls are going to fire me from their lives if
Mm.
I don't get a grip on this. And that was my driver. I was like, why am I doing this? Why do I need to have that change? And I still get goosebumps, right? Because we go on with our lives like there's no tomorrow. And luckily, I found a different way to do it because, look, I wanted to be a mom, but I didn't want to just be a mom. And I loved my business, but I also didn't want to work 20-hour days. And at that time, people were telling me, oh, Michele, that's nice. You got a little side hustle, but your business is never going to do well unless you give it your all. And when you do that, you're going to be a bad mom. And that's what people told me, women and men, right? So
the image
yeah.
That I think is so relatable to so many of us is like missing the doctor's appointment, missing the things that are so critical to your own self-care because the business consumes you.
Right.
And what was just for me groundbreaking here was the thought of like, okay, my doctor would fire me. I totally have had that experience.
Yeah.
And my kids could too. Like in a
Right.
way, that's really profound. So did you at that point, so you're working these nonstop days, you're cutting the reports, you're manually doing it all, and you decide you have to change. At that point, was it like, I'm going to figure out how to do this and get my time back? Or were you like, I'm done, I need to sell? Like, at which of the two, which direction did you head in then?
I was just building. I was a
Yep.
one-woman operation.
Yep.
I was just in a new country for a couple of years, even though I'm Canadian, but I grew up in Germany. So I didn't really know anybody here other than my parents and my family. And I was building. I was determined, but I was also determined to be a good mom and build a family for my kids and spend time with them. So I decided that there's got to be a better way. And how that happened is like, I'm not the only fantastic translator in the world. There are other people, millions of translators all over the world. And, as business owners, especially when we're starting off, we get this notion in our head that only I can do it this way.
Yes.
And if I don't do it, my clients will not be happy.
Yes.
And then I basically got to choose between, well, what makes me and my family and my business happy. And if I have to lose some clients in the process, then so be it. But I didn't actually. It was kind of cool. It was a little bit of navigation, but it was not nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. So my first step was to say, okay, what is the biggest roadblock in my business? And it's me and it's time. And so if I can get somebody else to do what I'm doing right now, then I can spend my time growing the business, getting more clients. And it sounds so, I don't know, just like, yeah, of course. I mean, there's no wisdom in that.
It sounds very simple, right?
It's
just
so
hire
simple,
people.
But
it'll all come together.
Hundreds of entrepreneurs who stay stuck there.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and I will make sure the quality's there. So then I went from translating 20 hours a day to proofreading 20 hours a day because I still had that fear of control. I need to make sure it still sounds like me. At the end of the day, then I was doing the same thing, but editing and proofreading. And I'm like, okay. So then I trained the translators to do that. And eventually what I now call offboarded myself completely from the translation process and focused on business growth and sales because now I was responsible for the people that were doing this work for me. And I needed to make sure it kept coming. But I was really clear that I did not want to be doing the translations anymore, not even a little bit, because as soon as I would dip my toe in and even train the proofreaders and look at something, of course I'm going to find something. I'm going to find something that I could have done better, differently, worded differently, and then boom, I'm back in it. And the trust that I've built with my team is going to be gone. So 80% of what somebody else does is the same as your 100%. It's not the same, but it's better because now you can grow your business and you can scale. And I didn't lose a single client. I got more referrals. I focused on the client relationship. So that was that transition. So looking at where's the roadblock in my business right now? Because if I have a car factory and I can build, I heard this the other day and I can't quote who it was from, but I was scrolling and I came across this and it was something like if you have capacity in your factory to build 5 steering wheels a day and 16 tires and all of the accessories and you can build 1 engine. And now you're going, oh, okay, I need to do my business better. I need to look at everything that I can optimize. And then you take a workshop or you learn how to build more steering wheels or make 32 tires a day. If you're still only building one engine.
I heard this.
Only sell 1 car per day. So what was my aha moment that got me out of it was realizing what is the one thing that will get me to the next step and not optimize everything else. The one thing, how do I build more than 1 engine in a day?
It's so funny, Michele, because it must be I just saw this.
Right? Wasn't that cool?
It's such a great analogy because if you don't have the base of the engine, you can make as many wheels as you want, but you're driving nowhere. It's a really interesting point. This is what I was thinking as you were telling your story. So you're a mom of 2 and you're building this business and you decide to invest in people. And in some limited capacity, it's not the same as like investing in inventory that could never sell. You're investing in people. If the business doesn't grow, you can always scale back. But there still is a level of like risk taking and leaning in that when you're hiring people happens with that, right? Like you had to make the decision like, okay, I'm going to build this bigger than myself and I'm going to invest in bringing on new business. That's where I'm going to spend my time and it's all going to work. How did you build the appetite for that risk? Do you feel like it was inherent within you or was it just something you really had to like push through in that moment?
That's a great question. I was really lucky in the sense that in the mid 90s, only big companies were global. I was global from day one. Okay. In the language industry to this day, I mean, a lot has changed. People worked from home. Translators worked from home. They were freelancers. Yeah. So I had a team of 10, 20, eventually thousands of freelance translators, professional translators all around the world. So I didn't have that pressure that, it's like, oh, now I have to come up with payroll. So you were able to... I had a different problem though, but yes, I was able to say, if you can take this job, I'm going to pay you X amount per word. I calculated my gross margin and what I was selling the client. And at that beginning transition, it was actually a pretty simple math equations. Like I know I can do X amount of words per day in good quality.
The risk was less about the hiring. The risk was more about accepting that the quality wouldn't be exactly as perfect as you would have, and yet it was still good enough. And
it's fantastic. I mean, we were the number 1 legal we worked for 60 out of the top 100 law firms. So why am I worrying about quality, right? It's like we get so attached to what only we can do, and that keeps us from scaling. I did have a different problem though.
Tell me the problem. I was going to ask.
I had a different challenge. So I didn't have I have to come up with payroll. The challenge was though, if I don't give these people enough work to do on a consistent basis, they're going to take on jobs for somebody else, and then they're not going to be available for me. And I was trying to build certain teams for the clients so they got used to and could learn, could be faster and serve the client better. And if I didn't give them enough work, they were going to not be available. And so that's a different problem. So I had less control over availability, but less financial risk. It's a trade-off. You have to put almost more effort into it to build that culture that people want to stay with you, that they're excited about what you're building, and that you're doing the work, giving them the opportunity to make a good living with what you're doing. So it's a different side of the coin.
Michele, that's gold, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, I have this weight of payroll. If I had freelancers, it would be easy. But you're right. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. There's always challenges in business as you're growing and as you're learning. At what point does it go from I've built this, I can't believe where we are, to, okay, I'm ready to make a change and sell? Talk to me about that process and that change.
Great question. So after I implemented all of this, I also hired a COO really early on. We're like just about at around $1 million. I don't remember exactly. And my coaches and my mentors told me I was crazy. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you paying this person? You can do that work yourself. And I said, I can, but like translating, right? Then I'm going to be doing that. And my kids are growing up. My clients are overseas. I am traveling. I'm not there. And what I didn't know then, but of course, like I was young, I didn't really know that much about business. It was intuitive. But of course, what I didn't realize then, it helped me scale much faster, right? Because again, I'm not stuck in my business. First it's translating, then it's ops, and I didn't want to do that. And I remember saying I can always make more money, but I can't get the time back. Over the past 15, close to 20 years, but probably 15 years where I owned the business, I worked 4 to 10 hours a week. So to your question, why would I sell? And, I'm making money in my sleep. My clients are happy. I am traveling the world, building great relationships, right? Why would I leave? Cash flow is good. Business is profitable. It makes no sense. And I actually got that question when I was talking to some people about selling. So why would you do that? So for me, it was 3 things. The biggest thing was I had been doing this for 25 years. And while it was amazing and I got to work on the stuff that I love, connecting with people, strategy, that's when you get to optimize, right? That's when you get to have fun with optimizing, when it runs without you, right? If you start over optimizing while you're still in it, it just creates chaos. But so I was able to do that. And then it's like, okay, what's the next challenge? Like, I'm young. What else do I want to do? So it was personal. One, I just wanted to do something different. And did I have time to do something different while only working 4 to 10 hours a week? Yes. But I like to do one thing, and I like to do one thing well. I don't like to hop around and do many different things, and people can do that, and it's awesome. It's just not me. I get too frazzled. I like to focus my energy on one thing. So I'm like, okay, it's time to figure out something new. And the second big thing, and it's ironic, was technology. So this is 2018, 2017, 2018, really, like we had Google Translate, and the language industry always had a lot more advancements. I mean, I had a global company, and when I sold, people were like, oh, can you teach me how to work with remote people? Because now it's Corona. I'm like, I can, but I really don't want to do that. But yeah, I was global and remote for 25 years. So I had that, but it was the technology part where I'm like, okay, I'm going to need to do a big pivot in order to stay competitive.
Yes.
I'm going to really have to invest in AI, in technology. And we were already working with LLMs back in, 2014, 2015, 2016, building artificial intelligence solutions for our clients using third-party software, obviously. But that was not new to me. But I'm like, oh my goodness, do I have the energy? And is that what I really want, is to now turn this into more of a tech-based company, which is what I knew I had to do. And the answer for me was no at that time. Ironically, now I'm doing a ton of tech in a different role, but that really was it. And I just wanted a new challenge. I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and it's not bad writing. A lot of businesses in the language industry are thriving, have pivoted. But for me, after 25 years, that was not my path anymore.
Michele, I have to tell you that our exit reasonings were nearly identical. So I had a social media agency. There were a few things. I was doing great. The business had grown. I was leading, but not, working in the business at all. I really wasn't working with clients or anything. And it was extremely lucrative. And I knew that technology was coming, as it always did with social media. You always had to reinvent. And I felt, for me, like I didn't have it in me to do it again for that type of business. And sometimes, even when you're focusing just a small percentage of your time on something, if that something could be at risk, it's like the amount of focus that you might have to place would far outweigh, any free time that you would have in that moment. Like I really had a very similar experience. And once I sold, I got very into tech in a totally different capacity.
Right? Isn't that funny?
I think sometimes it just doesn't fuel you anymore, and you need a change. And that reason alone is enough. Sometimes it's I need a change. And so how did you go about it? Did you list? Did you partner with an advisor? What did you do to start the process?
I had to give myself permission, right? Because while it wasn't like, oh, my baby, but it was something that I had invested 25 years of my life in, right? So you want to make the right decision. And I was still like young. It's like, okay. But it was this giving myself permission, right? Because I never built the business to sell. I joked about that with John too. It's like, I never built to sell, but then I sold. And because I didn't know, right? I didn't know. And man, if I had known, I probably would have built it much bigger in the time that I had and sold it for much more, but I didn't know. So, check your number in your head, because we can only grow as far as the number in our head, right?
That's right.
And ironically, my number, as big as I could think, was $6 million. It's all like for the last 20 years. And my friends made fun of me. They were like, oh, $6 million, Michele. And they were joking because that number was outrageous for them.
It was huge for you. Yes.
Right. And so had I been able to give myself permission to say I'm going to grow it to 20 or 100 million, I would have.
Yes.
Right. So just a little tidbit is like our mind really manifests. And then the irony is that I sold it for exactly 6 million.
Yep. I totally, first of all, I appreciate you sharing. And second of all, I totally agree with you.
I know I'm not answering your question quite yet, but I'll get there. But it's just funny, like, what is the preparation? What is the permission, right? And so for me, it was once I was clear. And by the way, I love how you stated that. It's like, do I have the energy to do the same thing again in the same environment? And I think that was a really important addition.
Correct.
That brings clarity. And once I was clear on that, it's like, okay, let's go. I didn't know the first thing about selling a business. So I reached out in my industry. I'd been in the industry for 30 years. I knew a few people and one person in particular who I met with. We were in Poland at a conference in 2018, and I said, hey, I think I want to do this. Can you help me? Who do you know? And he's like, I can help facilitate this for you. And so he put like a memorandum together and reached out to his network. We talked in August. In October, I had 3 offers. Actually, September, the offers started coming in. October 2nd, I got the offer of the company that I sold to and accepted on the 3rd, which was my birthday, ironically. And then we were supposed to close in December.
Okay.
We closed in January, tax reasons, but it was really quick. So I didn't go the route of having an investment bank, and I just kind of took my own channel simply because at that size, you're not 50, you're not 100 million. It's very expensive,
it's
right?
Very expensive. Very.
Right. So if I'd known what I know now, I still would have gone that route. I would have prepared my team better for what was coming in due diligence, for sure. And they were amazing. Like, I don't know how they did it, but I could have alleviated a lot of pain with more knowledge up front, and I could have spread the thing out, right? We could have had more ready so they weren't distressed.
I think there's a real interesting hole in the M&A market where you have brokers that are advising on, lower level deals, people with 6 figures of revenue, maybe low 7 figures. Then anytime you're at like 5 million, 6 million, 7 million in revenue or anywhere in that space,
in that gap,
every investment banker says, get to 10 million, get to 15, and then I'll talk to you. And it's $1 million fee. And, there really is no one to help that human, in that space in a deep and meaningful way that doesn't break the bank. I mean, to me, I think I see a lot of women in that space, and most investment bankers make them feel very small and their fees are very high. And then most brokers, a lot of the brokers feel like a little like either schlocky or like too, not like they're giving them the kind of finesse that they need. So many women I know use someone that they knew in their network or someone, somewhere. And so your story completely resonates. And of course you answered my question. I'm curious about the next question, which is you spend, decades running this thing. This is who you are. It is a part of your identity. It may or may not be your baby, but it is really, a part of who you are.
Yeah.
And then you sell. And now that was part of who you were instead of who you are. How do you handle that transition? And how do you decide what and if you want to do anything next? Like what happens after you sell?
It's such a great question. You're an amazing interviewer. I could talk to you for hours.
I could too.
We could sit and have coffee or a glass of wine. It'd be great.
For life, for sure.
So how did I go from who I am to who I was, and then knowing what do I want to do next? And who do I want to become next, right? So I'm a coach now, and we talk about not just what you want, who do you need to become to have that, right? Because we become different people. So we ask kids, who do you want to be, right? We never say, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? So it really became about, well, who do I want to be? And who am I? So it was more of an internal soul searching, but it wasn't even that difficult. I think because one, I never fully identified myself just with my business. I'm a dancer, I'm an artist, I love traveling, like I do a lot of different things. So that was never, but I did identify as an entrepreneur. So I think that's a differentiation, because now you're not an entrepreneur. You are, but you're not, right? It's like your addiction is over. But it is like, okay, am I now not an entrepreneur anymore? Do I build another business? Do I want to build another business? Who am I if I'm not an entrepreneur? I think that was the bigger question for me. And I really took my time. I started painting more. I knew I wanted to write a book. I didn't know what it was about. I knew that I wanted to write a book that kind of had the message of living your best life while doing what you're doing. Yeah. That's kind of what it was about. And so I hired a coach. I explored. I traveled, but I mean, I've been traveling for the last 30 years. It wasn't like, oh, now I can finally travel. I had all the freedom already. So it wasn't really that different. But what was different is, what am I now? Am I a coach? Am I an artist? Am I a speaker? Am I not, like, who am I, right? And eventually I got to the conclusion that I didn't need to choose. The same way I had the conclusion I didn't need to choose between being a mom and being an entrepreneur. And she's like, I can be anything I want at any time I want. And that's where the real freedom came.
Okay, so I have to ask you, thank you for sharing about the 6 million. How do you get to, especially if you're not working with an investment banker that's going to like price you and do all that, how do you get to the number that you should be worth? What are the steps that you recommend for entrepreneurs to do that?
I love that you asked that question. So I coach a lot of entrepreneurs now, and I help them create a business that serves their life. That's my mission, to help more entrepreneurs create a business that serves their life while still scaling. Like if you want to build to 100 million or more, I mean, I have some clients that are 300-400 million, and I have small clients. It makes no difference as long as it's serving the life that you want. So that is my mission. And so when I talk to entrepreneurs that I'm coaching, a lot of them are looking for an exit. What I hear is, I talked to my accountant and they say this is the formula. And then I talk to somebody else and I talk to an advisor and they say this and and maybe I shouldn't. And, how do I even get to that? Or they want to sell too soon. They're at 1 million, 2 million. Ooh, I'm going to sell. It's like, yeah, you're going to have nothing left. But the number for me, the process I think that makes the biggest impact is, don't talk to your accountants first. Talk to them after.
Yep.
Pick your number.
Yes.
Pick your own number. You're designing your own life. I mean, yes, obviously within reason. And yes, the market will tell you. But if you're coming into the market with a mindset where I have a $5 million business and, EBITDA is this, and I don't know what I can pull out, and the accountant's telling me this, and maybe I'll get 4, right? So yeah, you'll get that. But what if you come into the marketplace with the mindset of, I want 8 million. And I say 8 because, of course, I'm in Canada, so it translates to a near 10-figure exit for me. Yes. And so that was the math that I did. Yes. And I'm like, can I get that? How do I get that? And I ran the numbers. Okay, I knew some of the formulas, but I also knew there was added value. And I looked at who is my ideal buyer that's going to really benefit from what I have. And my accountant told me, yeah, okay, maybe 4, maybe 3, not 8 Canadian. Pick your own number or figure out what you need. And if you somehow realize you can't get there, focus the next year and a half or 2 years on really adding the value that will give you the money that you need. Stop asking accountants how much your business is worth.
Oh my gosh. We speak the exact same language. When I work with our clients at the Whisper Group, I encourage them to think about the number they want and then help understand why they want it, right? Without judgment. It could just be, I want it. But like, maybe it's like, I need this much to be able to retire and travel. And I want them to really think through and then work backwards. Like, you have to be rooted in reality where you are today, which the market does somewhat determine, but how you get to that number is entirely within your control. And so I love this message. I hope everyone books a call with you, because I have the best news ever, which is that Michele is offering a special offer for my listeners at the Exit Whisperer. You can book an exclusive free session with her today. I'm going to put up the link for you. It is unbelievable. I mean, literally, I'm going to take advantage of this. I need to speak to Michele on the immediately, because she's such an inspiration. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy that you shared your story. Most of my listeners are women who are looking to eventually get to an exit and just don't know where to start. If you had to recommend one thing that they do today, like just today, they're listening to this podcast, maybe they'll call you to speak with you, they'll come chat with us at the Whisper Group, but like, what should they do with their mindset? What's one thing they can do right now to start their way?
I love that question. And I'm going to just directly answer it. The one thing is, get clear on what you want. You can't build a business to serve your life if you don't know what you want your life to look like. You will always be reactive and a slave to your business. Get clear on what you want. Get clear on what that number is. Get clear on what you want to do next. And if that number is maybe not as big as you hope, weigh it against the opportunity that you have in front of you if you go. It's not just about the number. It's all about you. And you don't have to choose.
Amazing. Michele, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You guys check the show notes for how you can book time with Michele. She is a treasure, and I feel so lucky to have her on the show today. Thanks, Michele.
Thanks, Carrie. I'm blushing now. This was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing your time with me and creating so much value for your listeners with your show, because there's so many women out there that need exactly what you are doing and need their help with getting where they want to be, so we can all live our best lives and have successful businesses.